Behind the scenes at the Jefferson Health Training Complex, something is happening, my friend. And this time the problem did not come from inside the current locker room, but from a man who received $51 million from the Eagles, failed spectacularly on the field, walked out the back door, and is now using a podcast to publicly attack the city that bet more money on him than any other franchise in his entire NFL career. A former Eagles edge rusher, just 27 years old, just made an explosive appearance and fired direct criticism at both the Philadelphia fan base and the people inside the organization who made a decision he never forgot and, by all appearances, will never forgive. The same guy who never delivered even half of what he promised on the field is now saying he lost respect for the people involved in the greatest achievement in the Eagles' recent history. Who is this player? What exactly did he say? And what does it reveal about what really happened behind the scenes of that Super Bowl LIX championship team? I'm going to tell you the whole story, from the moment the Eagles bet $51 million on this signing all the way to the explosive words thrown out publicly in 2026, years after everything fell apart. But first, if you are a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe right now because this story has everything. Wasted money, a controversial decision on the biggest game of the year, and a player who decided to put it all on the table without holding anything back. To understand this story from the beginning, you need to go back to the 2024 free agency period, when Howie Roseman went after more pass rush to strengthen the Eagles' defensive line. The logic was simple and attractive. There was a 26-year-old edge rusher available on the market who had just recorded 10 sacks for the New York Jets in the 2023 season, numbers that get any general manager's attention across the league. Roseman went and got him, opened the vault, and signed a 3-year contract worth $51 million. The idea was straightforward. Take a player producing at a high level, bring him into a scheme that favors the pass rush, and let him keep growing. The problem is that the theory never translated into reality. That player's name is Bryce Huff, former edge rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles, who delivered a measly 2.5 sacks in a season full of injuries and disappointments, was traded to the San Francisco 49ers for a conditional 5th-round pick in June of 2025, played just one season in San Francisco, and retired at only 27 years old. And now, in 2026, he is talking, and what is coming out of his mouth is making noise all across Philadelphia. Bryce Huff's 2024 season with the Eagles was, without question, one of the biggest expensive signing failures in the franchise's recent history. A player brought in to be the explosive complement on the pass rushing line showed up for just 2.5 sacks across the entire regular season. To put the scale of that collapse in perspective, the year before, with the Jets, Huff had recorded 10 sacks. With the Eagles, $51 million in his pocket, his production fell off a cliff and dragged every expectation down with it. And the story became even more complicated when the Eagles reached Super Bowl LIX and defeated the Kansas City Chiefs, capturing the most celebrated title Philadelphia has seen in years. Bryce Huff never set foot on the field that night. According to the player himself, he was not even authorized to put on a uniform for the game. It was not an injury that kept him out. It was a decision made by the organization, and that decision, according to Huff, destroyed the respect he had for the people involved. Think about the emotional weight of that. You are signed for $51 million. You grind through a difficult season. Your team reaches the biggest game of the year, and you are told you will not play. You will not even dress. You sit in the stands and watch the game that could have defined your career. Huff's first public criticism of the Eagles organization came in April of 2025, right after the trade to the 49ers, during an interview with the SF9ers YouTube channel. At the time, he said there were a whole lot of things that went down, without wanting to get into specifics, and that he already knew where the situation was heading back during training camp. But the most explosive comments came now, in June of 2026, during an appearance on the Caps Off podcast. When asked exactly when he realized the atmosphere was wrong in Philadelphia, the answer was direct and without any hesitation. The first week of training camp. On the Philadelphia fan base, Huff was even more pointed, saying that fans there take pride in going after people and that they know they are. And here he used a word we will leave out of this video, my friend. He acknowledged that it is cool to have a Super Bowl ring and to say he was part of a championship team, but made it clear that the way everything played out, especially the way he found out he was not going to play in the Super Bowl, caused him to lose a tremendous amount of respect for the people involved in that decision. These were not vague words said in the heat of the moment. These were calculated statements made more than a year after the events themselves, which makes them far more significant in understanding what he actually experienced inside that organization. But the real question becomes, what is the other side of this story? Because what the numbers show about Bryce Huff during his time with the Eagles tells a very different story from the one he wants to present right now. A player signed for $51 million who delivers 2.5 sacks, less than a quarter of the 10 he had recorded with the Jets the year before, simply did not justify the investment that was made in him. The Eagles' defensive line went to the Super Bowl and won the championship without his contribution, and the organization made the decision to leave Huff off the roster for the biggest game of the season, a decision that was followed by the greatest title Philadelphia has won in years. It is hard to argue the decision was wrong when the final result was a Lombardi trophy. There is a curious irony that life sometimes produces. The last game of Bryce Huff's NFL career was a San Francisco 49ers victory over the Eagles in the 2025 playoff wildcard round. In his one season in San Francisco, Huff had recorded 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 15 quarterback hits, and 30 total tackles, exactly the kind of production that would have kept him in Philadelphia if it had shown up during the 2024 season. His farewell to professional football came by defeating the team that had let him go. Taking a step back from the controversy and looking at the full picture, the Bryce Huff situation raises relevant questions about how Howie Roseman manages high-risk signings in the free agent market. The Huff signing in 2024 was, without any doubt, one of the biggest evaluation mistakes Roseman has made in recent years. $51 million for 2.5 sacks is an equation that does not balance on any calculator in the world. But something needs to be said clearly. Even with that failed move, the Eagles were Super Bowl LIX champions. The system, the locker room, and the players who delivered were strong enough to absorb Huff's absence of contribution. And when Roseman realized the investment was not paying off, he acted, negotiated the exit, recovered at least a conditional 5th-round pick, and moved forward. That is a defining trait of the Eagles' management philosophy. Mistakes happen in any winning cycle, but the response to them needs to be decisive and fast. The decision not to let Huff play in the Super Bowl remains without any official comment from the organization. All we have is the player's own perspective. And Philadelphia's sports media was quick to respond to his statements. Anthony DeBona of the Philly Special wrote on his official X account that this type of attitude and lack of personal accountability is exactly the reason Huff retired less than 2 years after entering the league as a promising player. Huff was only 27 when he walked away from the sport to found a company focused on preventing fires in lithium-ion batteries. He had the athleticism and the market to keep playing. The question that lingers is whether the emotional weight of everything he experienced in Philadelphia played a role in his decision to close the curtain on a career that had once promised so much more. With $51 million invested that never produced results, a controversial decision to keep him off the field for the Super Bowl, and now explosive public statements years after everything ended, this story raises a direct question for you, Eagles fan. Does Bryce Huff have a legitimate right to feel wronged by the organization, or is he simply trying to rewrite the history of a failure that, in large part, was his own responsibility? Drop your opinion in the comments. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will be back later to keep you updated with the latest Eagles news.